This is kind of like my classrooms where everyone wants to be as far away from me as possible.
It never changes.
It doesn't change, no. I don't know why that is. So, there's so many things that we could do. We talked about what would be some fun things to try with you in the 1 hour that we have here today. One of the things that I have noticed in the 25 or so years working with people, there's two challenges with stress. There's the fact that we turn it on in the first place, which we kind of played with in that big meeting we had last time. The fact, and for when stress only lasts, a minute or two, there's nothing wrong with it. It doesn't do us any harm. It's okay. And sometimes some of us would say, some of us in this field would say, actually, it's a good thing to have acute stress from time to time, because without that, that's kind of what doesn't kill us makes us stronger kind of idea. What happens, though, is most people, one, they turn on their stress unnecessarily, but then they forget how to turn it off. They don't know how to turn it off. And then when stress stays on, in other words, when the body's in a state of fight or flight for any amount of time, which is an unbelievable state of imbalance through every system of the body, then we start to feel symptoms. We start to have symptoms. We start to have things like headaches, can't fall asleep, all the things that we talked about last time. And so, you came in late, you have to sit right here. Did she just say, bite me? I heard her say, bite me. Nobody's ever said that to me before. But we start to have symptoms of stress, like all these problems that we think are the problems when they're really just the symptoms of an imbalanced physiology, an imbalanced emotional state, an imbalanced chemistry. And so then when that happens, we also need, we want to know, the smarter thing is to prevent it in the first place. Just don't turn on the stress response in the first place. But it's so easy to forget in the busyness and the craziness and the so-called stressful world that we live in. It's so easy to forget that we find ourselves unable to turn it off, either because we're just too wrapped up in it or we just don't know how. And so I thought today would be a fun day to kind of go through some ways that seem to work, or common ways that seem to work. And very few of these will be like, wow, I've never heard of that before. But I want to approach it in a slightly different way. Ways that we can use without drugs, without any devices, without counselors, therapists, things that we can do on our own that take us from stressed to to homeostasis, to balance. And so to get into this a little bit today, if we have time, we'll kind of try an activity that we'll modify a little since we have a hard floor, but we'll do something that's really, really cool that I do with my classes. But what I thought would be fun what I want you guys to do, because I'm not going to just talk the whole time, I thought it would be fun to ask you, what are some things that people do, yourself or anybody else that you know of, that they think in their minds, if I do this, it will turn off my stress. It will make me feel better. Okay? Now, before we go there, and that's one that always seems to come up, I want to do this, and you just have to imagine. Here, I'll go there. So I want us to separate this into 3 categories. Oh, you're so kind. It's hard being on the front row. Okay. I'm going to break these into 3 categories. The first one is questionable. The second is pretty good. And we'll put another one on this page for best. Whoops. One of the things that I've done in the years that I've been studying this is I'm really close to the science of stress. Every single day I have access to studies, to the literature, and I'm always seeing what works based on science, based on legitimate studies, in addition to people's own experience. And so I kind of have a pretty good feel that it's interesting that our own experience and the science seems to line up. The funny thing is, when I was doing a study for my PhD, my study looked at what people did. Well, we asked college students, how stressed are you? What are your main sources of stress? And then what do you do to deal with your stress? And it was really interesting that the things that the college students did the most with the intention of reducing their stress were the least effective at reducing their stress. Does that make sense how I said that? It's kind of like the best things they knew nothing about, and the worst things, the things that they always did, drinking and watching TV, were the things they went to the most for their stress. So I thought it'd be fun to let's throw out some things that you do or people that you know of do, and where would you put them? And then let's just for a second, analyze the science of why. So you said shopping. Okay, now which of these categories, and it's not going to be on this page.
Well, it's at least got to be pretty good.
So I actually, if there was a worst category, I went shopping with my wife one time, and true story, we were at, I don't know if it's still there, it was at Park City, it was the Nordstrom rack. Is that still there? We were shopping there, and she had to go in there, and the Bee Gees music was playing in the background. You all remember the Bee Gees. I could not have been closer to hell. It was the worst. I thought, I'm in hell. This is as bad as it gets. Shopping with my wife in a clothes store, and the Bee Gees are playing. No. So why would you say shopping? I mean, what is it? And I'm not trying to dissuade you from that. Why would you say, well, it's got to be pretty good? How come? I mean, from a human point of view, how come?
Yeah, it's a distraction. It's getting away from environments where I feel like I have to work, and it's a chance to get out with my daughters and we chat. And
So it's not necessarily the being in the store.
well, there is that rush when you find something and you purchase
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
It's really good.
Especially if it feels good on you, or you go, man, I look better in this kind of thing. Yeah, I'll buy that. I'll buy that. I don't like it, but I'll buy it. Exactly. But I'll go into Smith & Edwards and have the same experience. Sleeping. Who said that? Okay, where would you put it and how come?
I would put it questionable.
For sleeping?
For if you're sleeping to get away from I'm just gonna ignore it now and I'm just gonna go to sleep and hopefully I'll just.
Okay. So,
Not a need to because I haven't slept for 2 days, but if it's an avoidance, I think it's.
yeah. I'm also going to put it here because, and there's plenty of really good research that says, I mean, we could do a whole class on just sleeping.
Can we practice?
We're going to try at the end, yeah. That's why I wanted the carpet floor, but we'll try. The research on sleep is really fascinating. There's more research on sleep than just about anything else in my world. Most people get about an hour less sleep than they should be getting. So in a week's time, we give up about a night of sleep. Yeah. We all, according to the science, need more sleep. Now, I know that's hard for us because we have lives that are really busy. And we think, man, I got to get stuff done. So the next question is, if you can't get the full complement of sleep, if you can't get however many is the right amount, and there's not a right amount. Some people say, well, I have to get 8 hours, or 8 hours is the right amount. It's not. It depends on you. Some people it's 6, some people it's 9. And that's just you, and we're all different that way. But how long should it take to fall asleep? I think I mentioned this the last time, didn't I?
5 minutes.
Yeah, within 5 minutes maximum. If we're not falling asleep quickly, that's a problem. And the way to fix that is kind of what we're going to hopefully do at the end of today. We'll do a version of it. There's things, all kinds of things we can do to help our sleep, so that we get to sleep quickly, we stay asleep all night, we have dreams all night long, and we waken feeling like, yep, I'm ready to go today, instead of, crap, another day. Just 2 or 3 quick things about sleep, because we're all doing it. A couple things that are really big right now that a lot of people are talking about. One of the things that we need to do as much as possible that's fairly new in the health world is we need to get rid of our blue light. Anything that is a screen that is emitting blue light, like these, your body still thinks it's daytime whenever you have blue light around you. Serotonin does not, or is it melatonin? Serotonin? Melatonin does not kick in if there's any light. And melatonin is the hormone that makes it so we sleep deeply. If there's any light at all, the body thinks, oh, it's not nighttime. Because our ancestors, when they slept, it was pitch black. Didn't have night lights and TVs and any kind of electricity at all, right? And neither should we. If you want to improve your sleep, get as early as possible into the night, get rid of your screens. Don't sit up in your bed going, oh, I got to keep up with whoever's up. And then the other big thing, and this is not new to any of us as well, is try as much as possible to avoid caffeine whenever possible, and especially after about 2 in the afternoon. For sure after 6. Just caffeine and any kind of stimulant like that makes them horrible things for our sleep. there's so many things we could ask about. We could talk about sleep. How about, are naps okay? You think? You gave it a double fist pump. So here's the question, because I agree. However, the research on naps says there's a certain length of nap that is optimum. Any guesses? It's about 15 minutes. Any longer than that, and it's for each minute, it's more so. Our body thinks it's nighttime when we go into nighttime sleeping rhythms, as opposed to a nap recharge. Does that make sense? So we don't want to it's really okay. The Mexicans really are. The siesta's a good idea. If it's only 15 minutes, 12 to 15 minutes. One study, they found that 12 to 15 was optimum, and any amount of time after, it just got worse. 2 hours is right out. Okay, so sleep. But I agree with, if you're just doing it to avoid life, questionable. Okay, what else? What other things do people do, and where would you put it? What do you do, or what do other people do, where you think, I'm so stressed, I'm going to, and then that's what you do? What? Meditate. What do you mean by meditate?
I mean, sit, clear your mind, just make your mind go blank and just sit, and your mind.
Can you make your mind go blank?
Well, yeah, sort of. It's
Really?
not totally blank, but it's not on your problems. It's focused on.
Okay.
Mine is usually a beach or.
It's a what?
A beach or sunshine.
So some kind of image that you put in your mind. Yeah. Yeah, and I learned to meditate in 1988. I've been doing it ever since, just about every day. And the guy who taught me, I learned transcendental meditation, which was really expensive, and it's a intense kind of meditation, but he said just do this every day for the rest of your life, and you'll never have any problems. And I can't say I've never had any problems, but I have to agree with you. Meditation is one of those, is unquestionably the best things we can do. And that's one of the things we were considering doing we were doing mindfulness, weren't we? Meditation is a form of mindfulness. It's really amazing when I teach meditation in my class. There was one, just to give you a couple quick stories, there was one lady who, and why I agree with you so totally, it is one of those very best things that we can be doing, even if it's just for 5 minutes. But when I learned it, he said 20 minutes every day. But we've had people, do any of you know people with fibromyalgia? You know, that muscle pain. Does anyone have fibromyalgia in here? There was one lady in my class had fibromyalgia so bad that it hurt her to wear a shirt. It was that bad. And she'd go to the doctor, and the doctor said, there's nothing wrong with you. You know, he's run the blood tests. Nothing wrong with you. And of course there is. She's in incredible pain. Muscles, fibromyalgia. I taught the class meditation, and we were doing it. And she came up to me afterwards, and she was crying. And I went, what have we done? And she said, while we were meditating, she said, I could just feel the pain floating off my arms. She said, I haven't felt this good in years. There was another lady who, she'd had a headache every day for 20 years. She just got to the point where, and she tried everything. Taught her to meditate. After meditation, headache was gone. I saw her a year later, and she looked softer. She actually looked a little younger. She was getting a drink in our building, and I said, "How are you doing?" And she said, I haven't had a headache once in the last year. And every time that I feel a little bit of a headache coming on, I meditate the way I taught them in class. It's a very structured, very easy, it's very, very easy way to not clear your mind, but settle the mind. Because I don't know if it's possible to make your mind go blank, but it is possible to settle the mind sufficiently so that the body goes, no more stress. So anyway, she just looked totally different. And all she was doing was she was taking the mind out of the stress response. The body followed with getting back in balance, no headache. It's a perfect example of how the relaxation works to restore us back to balance and disappear the symptoms of stress. So meditation, I would put, it's probably very best, the next category up. Okay, what else? What other things do we do?
Focus on a hobby.
Focus on a hobby. Where would you put that? You would? How come? Right. I have a belief that you can only think one thing at a time. You can only put your awareness on one thing at a time. Try driving and texting at the same time. You can't do it. Try reading and texting at the same time. You can't do it, right? You can only focus directly on one thing. So if you're not focused on the stressor while you're focused on whatever the hobby is, crocheting, knitting, fishing, racquetball, whatever it is, you can't simultaneously be focusing on the stressor. It's a win, for sure. We go into this, that's when we get into mindfulness at the next class, we'll really focus on that to see how that works, because mindfulness really is one of the most powerful tools you'll ever come upon in your whole life for not just reducing stress, but for just living happily. It's just absolutely amazing how powerful mindfulness is. Okay, so I heard somebody else say eat.
Oreo cookies. I don't think that's going to be in the best.
Where would you put it?
I know, it's pretty bad.
You think? Okay, so I'm going to put that there with. Sometimes, you go to a nice restaurant with your favorite people, and there's nothing that's wonderful, and you feel. But if you're eating for the purpose of turning off the stress response, I had one student. He was 385 pounds. We were working with him heavily with his weight. That sounded wrong. He was so depressed, and had been for years and years. The only pleasure he got was Twinkies and the like. The only thing that made him feel good, the only feel-good thing was what he could put in his mouth. Everything else about him was pain. Didn't work, though, because he was 385 pounds. Didn't work it wasn't a good solution. So why is it a natural thing? This goes back to our other class. Why is it absolutely natural that you would eat when you're stressed? Think of the fight or flight response. You're wanting to have some immediate power, strength, right? Right now. And what's the fastest kind of energy that we can put in our body? Sugar. Simple carbs, right? Simple carbs, really fast. So we're hardwired when we're stressed to eat sugary things. Huh?
I don't crave carrots.
You don't. No, you obviously don't because there's not enough sugar in those.
No satisfaction.
Now, the challenge that we have is we're not running from bears. We eat and then we just sit and watch the TV or whatever we do. And so the energy that we eat so quickly goes here instead of here.
And then you get more stress from that.
That's another added stressor, isn't it? Oh my gosh, now I'm getting heavier. Oh man, and then
Too close, I just thought I can't.
now I've got to go shopping again. But then I'll feel good again, so.
That's depressing shopping when you have to go buy bigger sizes.
That's true. So, eating, I would say, right here, yeah. Okay, good. What else? I want to get a few more in before we do our, what?
Deep breathing. Maybe that goes along with meditation.
It's a different type of meditation, but you'd put it here, right? And what? Okay, hold on to that for just a second. And yes, we'll hit that. You said deep breathing. Okay, explain what you mean when you, because breathing, we're doing it all the time.
Focused breathing, kind of along with the hobby thing where you focus your mind on one thing and breathing helps to calm my body.
Now, why deep breathing? Because you were accurate. Why deep breathing?
Getting oxygen to those tissues, I don't know.
When you're in the stress mode, you've seen people on TV, when they're anxious, how do they breathe? You can see the chest just going, right? Somebody's angry. Come on, I'm going to get this, right? When you deep breathe, in other words, when you breathe so that the diaphragm moves in and it crowds things out so the stomach moves out, it doesn't look very, sexy to have your stomach going. You send the message. This is actually the opposite of the mind sending a message to the body. This is the body sending the message to the mind. I'm okay because I'm breathing deeply. And when I breathe deeply, I must be okay. I must be safe. I must be without a threat. So so the body goes, oh, there must be nothing wrong. Okay, good. Whew. So, and yes, the focus on the one thing, your breath is always, when we get into mindfulness, we'll really hammer that down, how just the here and now of focusing is so powerful. Okay, so I heard exercise. Where would you put it? You think? Unless you're just a chronic exerciser and you're doing that to get in the way of everything else. Now, why would we say, everywhere I go, no matter who I'm talking to, I always tell people, exercise is the very best thing you can do for your physiology. But why would it be so great for stress?
Burns up the extra energy created.
Close. Yep, you're on the right track. Think about... No, that's a kind of a nice, that's dessert. That you feel good, for doing it. And I think you have those endorphins. There's several chemicals that happen when we exercise that make us feel good so that we're more inclined to do it again because we like that hormone rush, right? Now, think of our ancestors when they were in the presence of a bear. What did they do? They ran. It was very natural for them when they were in a threatening situation to get the heck out of there. If you've been thinking all day, I'm in the presence of a bear, even though it's not a real bear, but whenever we say, uh-oh, oh my goodness, oh my gosh, our physiology is only hearing there must be a bear there, the smartest thing we can do is follow through on that message and run. Now, that leads to the next question. What's the best exercise? You think? Brisk walking? That's nice, huh?
You can solve all the world's problems in 40 minutes.
How do you do that? Man, I should do some of that then. Is that everyone in agreement? Brisk walking?
I'm sure exercise is very individualized. I mean, to me, to do a big old, I'm going to go lift weights and all of that, I just die. I mean, I'd get nothing solved.
There's no way you'd do that, right? Here's the right answer, and it's the only true answer to what's the best exercise. The answer is the one you will do. And it doesn't make any difference what it is for stress, as long as you're moving. Now, I don't include gardening in that, even though it's a nice hobby. That's not exercise. If you think about our ancestors, when they were running from the bear, how fast were they running? Full blast. So if you're going to walk, there's nothing wrong with walking. But if you're going to walk, from time to time, go up a hill. Or from time to time, go just a little faster so you're almost out of breath. From time to time. Don't stay there. You don't have to stay in that really fast mode unless you're training for something, marathon or something, half marathon or 5K or something. But from time to time, for no more than 30 seconds, they call this, it's called high intensity interval training, is the buzzword in exercise physiology circles. 30 seconds of just burst and then rest for 90. And you only have to do that 8 times. Maximum. Start out at 1 and just go as fast as you can up a hill for only 30 seconds and then walk. Go back to your nice, comfortable walking. And then the next time, do that twice. And then the next time, do that 3 times. You don't need to do it any more than 8 times. If you did that 3 times a week, your body would so quickly adapt and you'd start losing weight. The hormones you were talking about would start kicking in. You'd get addicted to that because it's really amazing the changes that start to happen when you do what our ancestors did. And that's what they did. They walked a lot and they did short bursts occasionally. Good? Okay, what else? What other things do people do? Oh, there's got to be some things that people do. I have a whole long list. So speaking of Friday afternoon, what's a lot of people doing?
Go out and party.
Party? What do you mean? Describe, what do you mean by party?
Well, it could be bad drunken parties or...
Okay, let's look at alcohol for a second. Where would you put alcohol on this as a way to deal with... Because alcohol is a relaxant, correct? It's supposed to calm the nervous system. It does. Should we put it in best? No, how come? You're vigorously shaking your head no. How come? Because that's what most people do when they're stressed is, I got to go get a drink.
From your stress, but it creates a lot of other issues that cause more stress.
Like what?
Well, like a lot of people who have been drinking too much will get in fights with, whether it's family or with other people, or they'll cause problems by driving when they're not right.
All kinds of problems, huh?
There's a ton of problems.
Yeah, I don't know of too many alcoholics who weren't social drinkers first. And I have a brother who's dead because of alcohol. I hate alcohol for what it's done to my family. And some people go to it as a way to deal with stress. I would never recommend it.
But just so, along the party theme, like this weekend, like you said, okay, so Tuesday's gonna come and there's gonna be barbecues and there's gonna be family get-togethers.
There you go. So where would you put those?
I would put that as the best.
The best. So if you hate your family, I think anything we can do to, I mean, we have these so-called, and I say that so-called because I don't think there's anything that is inherently stressful in anything. I know nobody wants to hear that because when I go there, it's always stressful. But it's still our perception of it. But nevertheless, when we get away from those places, when we take ourselves completely out of those places where the interpretation won't even present itself, Lake Powell, you know, or some slot canyon. It's hard to be stressed in a slot canyon because it's just you and, unless you're claustrophobic, beautiful walls of mountain and sand, and you're just hiking through. We did this last weekend down in southern Utah. We were in this place called the Subway in Zion's National Park, and my family, we were all hiking through there, and we were so focused on, there were some places that were a little tricky. But I noticed as we were there that we all kind of became more still. We all became more, we kind of settled into the nature's rhythms instead of the city rhythms. And as soon as we drove back to the city, everyone seemed to be in a hurry, even though they were just going how they normally do. So anytime we can get into, and I'd include, so family time, nature time, there's a rhythm. Our ancestors lived in nature. That was what was natural for them. We're not different from them. And there's very little natural about this. That's why we put pictures of nature in places like this, to try and pull some of that in. It's a good idea. But taking ourselves into those places is a great idea. Okay, what else?
Doing something for somebody else.
Service kind of stuff. Where would you put it? I hope so, yeah. Now, why would you say so? It's hard to focus on your problems when you're working on you're helping somebody else with theirs. Yeah, it's that same, can only focus on one thing at a time. And that empathy, that feeling of love is healing. That feeling of love is opposite of the feeling of threat. You can't feel love and threat at the same time. You can't feel still and threat at the same time. You cannot. They're diametrically opposed. And so anything you can do that takes you into a state of love and kindness and forgiveness and that sort of mindset, you are no longer thinking of the threat thought. And that works to turn off the stress response. I'm going to throw a couple more up here just to kind of, and then I want to do something relaxing with you guys that's really cool. The things that I recommend as top things that there's no disagreement about these. The one of them is massage. We should all, besides the fact, or besides the notion of just human touch, which is enormously powerful, wanted human touch, when you have that, your whole body resonates with that feeling or with that connection. But massage also, when you have a muscle, so like let's say that here's your muscle right here or right here. Let's do this for a second. Take your thumb and push in on your thigh really hard. Did we do this last time? Push in on your thigh really hard. Does that hurt? Not very much, right? Take your finger or your thumb, go up to your shoulder, and push in with the same intensity, somewhere on your shoulder. Just find one of those so-called knots and push in with the same intensity. Does that hurt? Yeah. Now, if we took a biopsy, if we took a microscope and looked at this muscle and this muscle, as far as structure is concerned, would they look the same or different? Exactly the same. Why does this hurt and this doesn't? Because the fat is... You've got, if you're in the fight or flight, think of fight or flight, fight. You're tensing up these muscles. Every time you think a threat thought, muscles are tensing somewhere, primarily the fighting muscles. Because we walk around and we use the running muscles, but these just stay, and the muscles just keep going tense, 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 tense. And pretty soon they get tight, and pretty soon they turn into ropes. Well, the massage therapist, when you go to that person, they put their thumb or elbow or whatever on your muscle, and they just they take the muscle and it just goes. And every one of us has had this feeling after massage going, wow, it's so good. This is so, thank you. You know what I mean? We all should be getting those from time to time. And the other one that I highly recommend, I think it's the other one that is as powerful for dealing with stress as meditation is yoga. And it doesn't make any difference how fit, flexible, or strong you are. Everybody can do yoga. And now you can go online and just do yoga for the most beginner of all. And there will be something you can do. Or if you're really fit and you want to do, just type in yoga for, and just do some of them. It doesn't matter how many, just do like 3 or 4. You don't, I've gone to probably 5 yoga classes in my life. 5 actual classes. But I do yoga almost every day. For only about 5 or 10 minutes. I don't spend an hour doing yoga. But the thing that I've noticed is, as I've continued to do yoga and to meditate, I'm still doing what I was doing 30 years ago. Tomorrow, and I'm not saying this to brag, I'm really not, I'm just, because I'm a normal, tomorrow I'm playing 3.5 hours of basketball with my kids and their spouses from 8:30 to noon. We've already set it off. And the only reason, I'm certain, the only reason why I'm still able to do that is because of yoga. Yoga is and you ask anyone who does it quite a lot, yoga balances the body better than anything. Meditation balances the mind, yoga balances the body. The body's designed to move as in exercise, and it's also designed to move through its range of motion as in yoga. You know, the joints, the yoga works with the joints. Every one of us should be doing some yoga from time to time for the amazing... I once taught a yoga class, besides the 5 that I went to. I taught a yoga class in Virginia, and it was all the people who came were 50 and older. It was women, 50 and older, 60, 70, 80-year-old women. And the reason why they came was their doctor had told them they had arthritis. And the doctor said, there's not a lot you can do now. Your arthritis is getting so... And so they'd come and do the yoga. And there was one lady who, I remember I asked her, how do you like coming to class? How do you like this yoga stuff? And she said, every day I come to class with a headache, and every day I leave without it. And I've just seen amazing things with yoga. And you don't have to be great at it. You don't even have to be good at it. You just have to try the things you see on the computer screen and watch what happens. It's absolutely amazing. Any questions about any? Go ahead.
On a stress thing, and I don't know what you'd call it, but a lot of times you may be struggling with the decision, and maybe you don't have to make it then. And it was very powerful once when I was working with somebody and they said, do you have to make this decision now? And I'm like, no. Well, you can make a decision not to decide.
Mm.
And that was very powerful because then it felt like a decision and I was able to let it go. And that's been a powerful tool.
So, can you give your example of, so we can, what was the decision that you didn't end up,
Okay.
if it's not too personal or?
Well, I had been with my boyfriend at that time for several years, maybe 7, 8 years. We weren't married, we were living together, and he wasn't sure he ever wanted to have kids.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't sure if this would work out or not. Should I stay, should I go? And did I have to decide that right then?
Mm.
Having a good time, the relationship's good. Did that decision have to be made right then on a yes or no on your future? No, it didn't have to be made right then.
So releasing the pressure of the thought,
Yeah.
of the have to make a decision. Yeah.
Where you're putting yourself this whole pressure on.
There's so many, that's a terrific example. There's so very many things that we can do cognitively. I mean, all stress begins with our thinking. All of it does. So anything we can do, and that sounds a little more of a prevention, you know, I'm not gonna, this stuff turns it off, but that kind of is the smarter thing of just prevent it by thinking in a certain way. Kind of what we'll do with mindfulness. Any other thoughts or questions? I want to do one quick relaxation exercise with you. It's really cool if you're okay with it, unless anyone has any.
What do you make us do?
You'll be floating in a minute. No. Okay, so here's what I'd like you to do. I'd like you to sit in your chairs, unless you want to lie on the floor, which, if it were me, I'd lie on this, but you don't have to by any stretch, because we can do this sitting but I want you to sit in your chairs in as comfortable of a position as possible. And these aren't bad chairs. I sat in one of these earlier, and it felt really good. Okay, now, so I want you to sit so you're kind of like, with your hands in your lap like this, and your feet kind of out in front of you a little bit. Yeah, you've got it down. Now, I'm going to invite you to do a few things, and as we do this, just kind of go with it and watch what happens. We're not going to do anything really weird or strange. But I want you to just to play along and notice what happens, not only during, but afterwards. So what I'd like you to do is just close your eyes. Everyone has to close their eyes when this. Close your eyes. And now, for just a moment, I want you to put your hands on your stomach. Make it so your hands are resting comfortably on your stomach. Now, I want you to keep your left hand on your stomach, and I want you to put your right hand on your chest, up higher on your torso. So you've got one hand comfortably on about your belly button, and the other just above heart level. Now, I want you to focus for a minute on your breathing. Just put all of your awareness on your breathing. And as you're breathing, I'd like you to make it so just your stomach hand moves. And if that feels weird or strange, just go with it. Just try to invite your breath to go down so deep that just your stomach hand moves out when you inhale and just your stomach hand moves in when you exhale, and your chest hand doesn't move at all. If your mind starts to wander off, gently bring it back to the breath, but try to make it so that your stomach is moving out. Your belly button moves out as you inhale, and your belly button moves back in when you exhale. And if it's not quite getting there, don't worry, don't panic, don't get too anxious about your breathing. Just allow yourself, give your body the message, deep breathe. Don't worry about how fast or slow you're breathing. Just focus on the depth of your breath. Keep your mind on the breath as it goes down, as it turns around, comes back out. If your mind wanders off to less important things, bring it back to your breath, which is the only thing right now. Your stomach moves out as you inhale. And notice how effortless the exhale is. Just let the exhale be as effortless as you can make it. Just release. Now, once you feel like you've got a pretty good rhythm, then just let your hands go wherever they feel comfortable. If it's on your stomach, in your lap, just let your hands be wherever they want to go. Now, I want you to continue breathing that way. Continue breathing slowly, but most importantly, deeply. Now, I want you to put your attention into your shoulders. I'd like you to consciously take a deep inhale and push your shoulders up towards your ears. And when you exhale, release. Quickly release your shoulders down. Do that for about 4 or 5 breaths where you inhale, push your shoulders up, and as you exhale, release the shoulders down. And now, just kind of let your shoulders settle. Just consciously focus on your shoulders and let your shoulders settle. Feel the release of tension in your shoulders as you just allow them to relax. Don't try to make them relax, just allow them to relax. Now I'd like you to put your awareness back in your breathing again. Focus on your breathing and notice how your breathing has become just a little more slow, a little more easy, a little more effortless. Now put your awareness into your face. Just let your awareness go into your face. I'd like you to consciously relax your jaw. Separate your teeth, maybe your lips. Let your tongue go where it feels like going, but separate your teeth. And each time you exhale, let your lower half of your face relax a little bit more. Now go into your eyes. Consciously relax your eyes. Imagine that there are rings of muscles surrounding your eyeballs. And just let those rings of muscles relax. Let your eyebrows move into their natural position. Feel your forehead become smooth. Consciously move your awareness from one temple across to the other and just let your forehead become smooth. And each time you exhale, feel that relaxation spreading through your entire head. Just feel your face soften. Don't force it. Don't try to make anything happen. Just allow that sensation of relaxation. Now move your awareness back to your breath again, and notice how much easier your breath has become. Notice how it's become even more slow, more easy. And notice how each time you exhale, how effortless that is. Now put your awareness into your hands. I'd like you to consciously relax your hands. Wherever they are, just let your hands relax. Let your wrists relax. Just feel your hands soften. Move your attention into your feet and let your feet relax. Just consciously feel your feet in your shoes, your slippers, whatever you're wearing, and just let your feet relax. And one last time, return your awareness to your breath. And just follow your breath as it goes down, down to the deepest parts of your lungs. Notice how effortless the exhale is. And just enjoy this moment of doing absolutely nothing but breathing. Trusting that when you get to the next thing that you have to do today, you'll do it just fine. And the next thing, and the next thing. So in just a moment, we're going to return to normal wakefulness. Don't return too too quickly. Keep your eyes closed for just a moment. And just begin to move your hands and your fingers just a little bit. Take a slightly more full breath. Fill your lungs, move your hands, move your arms. Just kind of bring yourself back to normal awareness. Without opening your eyes, just kind of move your neck as if you're looking around the room very slowly. Just move your neck through its range of motion. Take another nice, full, deep breath. Exhale, push your shoulders up towards your ears as you inhale. Back down as you exhale. Next time you inhale, just take your arms up over your head, stretch out really long. Feel a nice stretch through your back. Mountain pose on your seat. And then when you're ready, go ahead and open your eyes. Does anyone feel worse than they felt before? It's always a possibility. Well, we call those relaxation exercises. I made a whole bunch of those, and that's what we use in the stress management class. And we've fixed almost every sleeping problem that's come through the class. And most people, by the end of the semester, if they would rate their average level of stress, that's usually about a 6 or a 7. The beginning of the semester, if they've regularly done what we've taught cognitively and what we've practiced with the relaxation and kind of incorporating these things, they end with a stress level on the average of about a 1 or a 2. And that's exciting stuff, and it's stuff that is not hard to learn. It's common sense stuff, and I think we've hit a lot of the bases today. So I hope you have a great weekend. I hope you have a wonderful holiday, and it's been my pleasure playing with you guys again. I always enjoy you guys. You're a great group. And until next time, we'll see you.